We are here to deliver our paper, our petition concerning the little girl that her father poked her eye in Tony East. Her name is Akuot Achwil. We as women and young ladies, we are against what happened to our daughter. It is concern of mother of South Sudan. We are crying with the family, especially the mother, who is crying all day and night. The incident was shocking in this country, so we are condemning this act in a very strong term possible. So we have our position, and the young lady will read it out. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Akuot, the Executive Director for Assistance Mission for Africa and a member of the United Women Against Violence and Abuse. This is a petition for criminal prosecution against Mr. Akuot, crimes of torture and attempted murder on Miss Mary Akuot, torture and attempted murder of Akuot Achwil. To Justice Ruben Madol Arol, Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, the Deputy Minister, and also the Undersecretary, all protocols in this room are observed. CC Council of Ministers, Right Honorable Speaker of the RTNLA, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of General Education and Instruction, Ministry, Gender, Child and Social Welfare, South Sudan Human Rights Commission, National Security, Internal Security. The United Women Against Violence and Abuse held an emergency meeting on Easter Monday on the 10th of April 2023 in Juba on the alarming case of Miss Mary Akuot, whose own father, a teacher and a health worker in Makwach Payam of Tony East County, Warapi State, subjected her to bodily torture to the extent of gouging out her two eyes on the 3rd of April 2023. We condemn in the strongest term possible such a barbaric and evil act from a person who claims to be a father and above all knows the best interest for his child. Yet he deliberately inflicted permanent harm on an innocent girl child just to appease his private interest over public interest. We equally take this opportunity to denounce and condemn all forms of violence against women and children and to end the cycle of gender-based violence GBV in South Sudan. As part of treaty obligations, the Republic of South Sudan joined the Community of Nations as a state party to a number of international human rights instruments. Chief amongst them include being state party to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, CRC, on the 23rd of January 2015. A state party to the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman, or Degrading Treatment or Punishment on the 30th of April 2015. And finally, state party to the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women on the 30th of April 2015, respectively. Such instruments impose international legal obligation on the state to ensure legislative developments and strict adherence to the implementation of the laws and policies criminalizing GBV and other forms of ill treatment. In this context, it is important to note that what happened to Mary Akuot is a clear act of torture and ill treatment punishable by the South Sudan Penal Code 2008 and other applicable laws. In her sorrowful recounts of events, Mary cited years of physical abuse by her father. On the day of the incident, her father fought with Mary and threatened to kill her. She pleaded with him. Her father proceeded to stab her in the eyes with a knife and gouge her eyes out. He tied her wrists on the motorbike, dragging her face down, causing her immense pain, suffering, and risk of infection. To make matters worse, the father kept her in the room for 3 days, not allowing her to get treatment, according to Mary. The father has a history of violence and also chased away her mother. In the light of these developments, we call upon the national government to immediately do the following. Urge the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs to immediately initiate criminal prosecution against Mr. Akuot for crimes of torture and attempted murder on Miss Mary Akuot Agany under Section 208 of the South Sudan Penal Code 2008, and equally pray for maximum sentence. We call upon the Ministry of Gender, Child, Social Welfare, and the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs to finalize formulation of the anti-GBV bill. We also urge the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Gender, Child, and Social Welfare to rejuvenate the special protection units within these institutions to address GBV cases in South Sudan. We also urge the national government and development partners to accord maximum protection and necessary psychological and medical support and rehabilitation to Miss Mary Akuot. Thank you.
Welcome you in your personal and institutional capacities, representing women groups and other stakeholders in the Ministry of Justice on behalf of the leadership of this ministry. I also would want to acknowledge on behalf of the Minister of Justice as well as the government of South Sudan the receipt of this petition, which represents your views on the unfortunate incident that happened to a South Sudanese minor, an incident that was occasioned on the body of this innocent girl by her father. We all acknowledge that this was unfortunate and a sad event. However, we as the Ministry of Justice are required by our Constitution to protect the human rights of everybody, more particularly the most vulnerable people of South Sudan. Even then, is our national obligation as South Sudanese in our various backgrounds. We are required to uphold the values of humanity. And from this perspective, we have always been trying our best to address such situations. We all remember that this nation was shocked when a South Sudanese young man in the recent past committed a very heinous crime by killing 3 siblings. We also remember what happened in Awil when a young girl was molested And her life was taken brutally by someone who was living in the same compound with her. There may be some other instances of comparable nature. For us, our mandate is very clear. We use the law to prosecute. We are also required to legislate in a manner that protects and promotes the human rights of everybody. And as you must have remarked in your petition, we have an elaborate chapter on human rights in our Constitution, which stresses the rights of the child, the rights of the woman. It's against torture. On top of the rights are respect to life and dignity. Thank you very much.